Hey everybody, it's Jay with JT Raised Outdoors. Appreciate you stopping in today. We got a little project going on. We're having a fence put in on some pasture that I rent. The landowner is wanting a half a mile put in. A lot of times we do our own fencing, but on this project we have got so much to do. So we're hiring a friend of mine to put this fence in. He's got a crew that is really fast, so I told him I would side trim all this hedgerow and get it cleaned up for him. It saves them a lot of time if it's clean and the brush and debris is all pushed out of the way, and you kind of slick the dirt up for him so it's easy for him to walk and to drive when they put the fence in. So that's what I'm doing today. It started spitting rain. Looks like there's just a little cloud going over, but man, the wind is blowing about 30 miles an hour, and winter can't decide whether to leave or to hang on, and spring don't know whether to show up or leave. But today is only like 55 degrees and a 30 mile an hour wind, so it's kind of chilly today. But anyway, when it gets done sprinkling or it's raining here, I'm gonna jump out and I'll show you what we got going on. Stick with us. Hope you can hear me. It's super windy, but I'm going to show you a little bit of this hedgerow. So this is the trees along this edge, and right along here is going to be the fence, and it'll go all the way down to where those cedar trees are, way down there. But I'm going to cut all this back so there's a straight line there that he can put that fence in right up against those trees. So this is some of it that I've already cut, kind of give you an idea. So like right here is the edge of the field, and we're going to gain that much grass. But this is some of it I've already done. You can see how far it's been cut back, and I trimmed the trees like that hackberry there. I trim the limbs that are hanging out in the way, trim those back so you can put the fence right up against the other fence. There is an old fence there, so he'll just try to get as close to that one as we can. But yeah, all this stuff is gonna go. Trees like this hackberry right here, I'll take it down. It's a little bit out in the field edge, so I'll take it down. This is a mulberry tree I'm cutting now. We have a few of these around. You see them, I actually see them pretty regular. It's supposed to be really good smoking wood, but a lot of people mistake them for hedge, but their bark is just a little bit different. But the actual wood is kind of yellow like hedge, so they assume that it's hedge when they're cutting them. Spraying those with a stump killer. Some of these sprouts are out here on the edge. Cutting trees, you kind of got to take down the ones that are going to be in the way. So if you want to cut like this tree I'm cutting here, it's a little bit of a bigger tree compared to this brush, but I want to cut that brush out first and get it out of the way, so when this tree goes down it won't be laying on top of the brush and you won't miss any. It's not so bad here on this littler stuff, but when you're clearing pasture with bigger trees, you lay a 30-inch or 36-inch tree down, you're not going to move that very far without a dozer most of the time. So we kind of get in the habit of clearing the brush around the bigger tree before we lay the actual tree down. That way you're not laying it down on other trees and taking a chance of missing something. Makes a mess, but we go through here with the grapple, and I'll get video of that and clean it up hopefully, and the grapple slicks this up really nice. Mulberry trees are bad about losing limbs and breaking, so this mulberry tree here, I'll go ahead and cut it too. It's in the fence row. It's not really bothering us too bad, but I know it's going to die and eventually shed a bunch of limbs, and I don't want new fence having a bunch of limbs on them. So nothing worse than putting a new fence in and 6 months later have a tree fall on. Mulberry tree, and it's got wire in it, so I'm just going to cut it off right here up high. Right here by this hackberry. We'll see if we can miss it. I think I'm on top of it, so I shouldn't get in it, I don't think. Famous last words. When you're cutting a tree line out that's already got barbed wire in it from an older fence, you kind of got to be careful with this saw, because it'll wrap that barbed wire around the head of it and knock the seal out of the drive motor, which I've done before. So usually if I get barbed wire wrapped around it, I'll stop and make sure I get it all cleaned out of there. Hopefully I can stay out of it today. This is kind of a good place to be, as cool as it is and as windy as it is. I got the heat on in here, so not a bad place to be right now. One thing about these hackberry trees is they have runners that come off the base of them. So you might have a 20-inch tree at the trunk, but it's liable to be over 3 feet at the ground or more when you're trying to cut it. Then you got to cut those feet off. So you take that in consideration when you're looking at somebody's pasture or something like that. If they have a lot of hackberries, it's going to take a lot more time to get them. Same thing with an excavator. If you're trying to dig them out, the hackberry's got a taproot. It just takes a little longer to get them out. The hedge tree, the roots of the hedge tree, they'll grow right on top of the ground. Very easy to knock over. They're actually pretty easy to cut as well. They're such a dense wood that it actually cuts pretty good. The wood grain in it's not stringy like hackberry or elm or even pecan. Pecan's a little stringy at times. But this one's taking a little longer because it's got some runners coming off the base of it that are sticking way out there, so I got to take time to cut them. One thing about a 30-mile-an-hour wind, you know which way the tree's going. This one's going to want to try to land right where the camera's at. It's trying to go right there. It just leaned a little bit to the north, so it pinched my blade. So I went ahead and turned my blade off, and I'm going to reach up and try to control it, try to kick it away from that camera a little bit, but I may not be able to. Kind of get in behind it, pull on it a little bit. Now it's leaning more this way. I think it'll miss the camera. I'll come in the backside and finish cutting it. There's a long runner on that other side that's holding it up. There we go. What I'm doing now is go ahead and smooth up that stump a little bit. It'll have, usually when they break off like that, it'll have a spot in the middle where it broke off. And I'll smooth them up so they're easy to walk over. It doesn't hook his barbed wire when he's trying to stretch it. Well, we're getting along pretty good. See where I'm at there and show you what it looks like behind me. So you should be able to get a straight run of fence right down through there. Usually when I get done, I'll go back through and make sure I don't have any things sticking out too far where you can't get a straight run of wire. But I'll have some brush to clean up. It'll all look different when we're done though. Almost to the end. Some of these trees the guy could just shove over, but there's a phone line that runs along this ditch right here where we're working, and I don't want a root to get underneath that phone line and dig it up. So that's why I'm cutting all these. Like this one here, I could have pushed it over, pulled it over, brought the root with it, but I don't want to have to call and tell them I just messed up a phone line. So I'm going to show you this fence row I cleared out the other day when I was cutting it. It's 30-mile-an-hour wind and spitting rain and snow in April, and it wasn't very pleasant to be in. But I'll show you this fence row I cleared out. It's not real long, but you can see up against the edge of the trees I'll be able to put a straight fence down through there. This is what our goal is, to not have to step way out here, you know, and put the fence in. We want as close to those trees, you know, the fence line as we can, the old fence line, and there's part of the old barbed wire. But there'll be a set of gates right here by this tree, so I'm gonna take it down too. It's an elm. But we kind of need that room there. Put a couple gates in here. that's what it's going to look like when it's done. I'm pretty well finished, other than I'll probably come up and trim a little bit of that stuff there. It's just hanging over, and we don't want that falling on the new fence. But that looks pretty good, pretty slick. Be able to unroll barbed wire there and put a new fence up. So these trees that I've set out here, I drug them out of the way, and I'm going to cut them up for firewood, and I'll do that in another video at another time. But they're out of their way. They got plenty of room to put a fence up. Well, I think that's going to do it for this video. We got it all cleaned up, ready to put a fence in. If you don't mind, hit the like button, subscribe, share, leave us a comment, tell us what you think, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks.